The true rules of the Battle City tournament.
The Battle City tournament, for a lot of people, is one of the greatest events in the Yu-Gi-Oh anime. A citywide tournament where everyone and anyone could duel each other. And for those that won their duels, they would receive the loser's best card. However,
I think a lot of people have a lot of fondness for not only this season, but just this as a concept.
Here is a question for all of you. What were the rules? Now, the reason why everyone isn't so knowledgeable about the Battle City rules in the anime is because the full list of the rules was never actually established in the show. There wasn't a moment where Kaiba sat everybody down and explained every single new rule to them. However, it is implied everybody got like a pamphlet or something beforehand. Yeah. However, for us watching, we wasn't given that luxury. And unfortunately, we would be instead drip-fed the rules basically as they happened. Which is a little bit annoying because if you watch a duel at the start of the series, when rules get established a little bit later, you would have loved to have known that back at the start, because then you could watch all of the duels and you know exactly what players can and can't do at any given time. So when you're wondering, why isn't he attacking with that monster? Well, you'll know. Today, let's clarify exactly what the Battle City rules are in their entirety. So without further ado, let's learn the rules, shall we?
I love looking at these alternative and or legacy rule sets because it always opens up the what happens if so if I were to take my branded deck right now, right, and I were to duel someone, right, and just to use that rule set, how would it change the game? This is just so right up my alley, as well as it just adding flavor to the anime.
To be eligible to enter the Battle City tournament, you must meet 2 criteria. 1. A duelist's deck must contain exactly 40 cards. Rule number 2, you have to be in possession of a duel disc. But how did one get a duel disc? Well, the Kaiba Corporation actually made a limited run of them, available for free to anybody who had a duel level rating of at least 5 out of 8. This means that in total, there was only 48 duelists involved in the Battle City tournament. For this reason, that meant that those that did not meet the dueling level criteria...
Honestly, the fact that so meme. I love it! It's so meme! The fucking... Oh, I love it. Honestly, Kaiba could have given a lot more harsh. He could have actually given him the 1, but he chose not to. That's interesting.
We'd have to wait until Battle City finished before the duel disc would become available to everyone for purchase. And let's be honest, that does seem like a little bit of a shame.
I mean, it's a promotional event, is what Battle City was. He's promoting. Kaiba, at the very least, is a very good businessman. You can't argue with
why
that.
Kaiba did it. He wants the high-level duelists with all the powerful cards so he can take what he wants and get all those Egyptian god cards. But if you're just a regular Joe, it just seems like a shame to miss out. However, did you know there was a secret underground Battle City tournament?
Yes.
For all those level 1 to 4 duelists. But then the question becomes, what did they use for their duel discs?
Didn't they use, like, the Pegasus system, right?
Why? They use today's sponsor, the FlexiSpot EQ5 sit-stand desk. Ideal for the person that cares even a little bit about the well-being of their back. I'm sure you've all been there. You're organising your card collection, building a deck, or playing a duel when suddenly it begins to take its toll. However...
Oh man, I'm there. This would actually help so much. Oh god, it's amazing.
With a FlexiSpot desk, now, the very moment you start to feel uncomfortable, you can switch the desk to a standing position. And honestly, this makes all the difference. And do you know what this is perfect for as well? Dueling. Now we can either be up close and personal or nice and far away, standing up for a duel just like they do in the show. On top of that, I can be as dramatic and dynamic with my plays as much as I want. And
that's a mood.
If we want to turn this duel into a shadow duel, every time we lose life points, I can adjust the desk's height with the up and down buttons to make it higher and higher or lower and lower as we begin to lose our life points.
I'm gonna be honest, that's the selling point right there. Like, he's got me sold on this desk. Like, this is one of those that I'd have to have the space. I would love this.
However, that's not all. When you're not dueling, the standing desk is perfect for the home office setup.
Yeah.
Either for gaming or work. I can use the up-down buttons to change the desk's height. The desk can remember where I want it at the touch of a button. And with anti-collision built in, it knows when to stop if something's in the way. And with a range of desk tops, I can choose whatever style I think is best for me. What top would you choose? For a limited time, just like what Kaiba did, you yourself can win a desk just like this. Simply head into the description, click the link, and enter yourself into the raffle to win a desk for absolutely free. Thank you, FlexiSpot, for sponsoring today's video. But anyway, with that, let's get back to the video.
Desk looks great.
A duelist's deck must contain exactly 40 cards, and one of those cards must be considered a rare card.
Yu-Gi-Oh's always been weird to me because it's in modernity it is 40 to 60 cards. There have been formats where like grass is greener format, right? You maybe have things like Monster Gate in there too. Like, yes, you want to minimize deck space and maximize copies for consistency. However, sometimes it is arguably just better to run the full 60. Like, I think Yu-Gi-Oh! Is really the only game that does this.
Examples of rare cards would be the Dark Magician, Harpy's Feather Duster, Serpent Knight Dragon, Great Moth, Fortress Whale, Call of the Haunted, Firewing Pegasus, Twin-Headed Thunder Dragon, and of course, the Egyptian God cards. Yeah. During a duel, you and your opponent must wager your rarest cards. And on top of this, at least one locator card must be wagered too. A duelist that received 6 locator cards would automatically become a finalist in the tournament. So if you do the maths, 48 duelists in total, 6 locator cards, that means only 8 people could qualify. A forbidden and limited list was implemented for deck building. Since duelists only had 4,000 life points, all cards that directly damaged the opponent with effect damage and that didn't have a cost to be used were forbidden. For example, cards like Inatama, Nightmare Wheel, Meteor of Destruction.
Which, yes, when Merrick was controlling Joey, he used this. Then again, it wasn't necessarily a fair fight.
So, cards that directly destroyed monsters with no cost were also banned. So, things like Raigeki. This one's a little bit vague, because there are a couple cards that were used throughout the tournament that did blow up one card on the field, and it didn't have a cost. My Valentine used a card called Grave Arm, and that just blew up a monster on the field. So maybe this only applies to, like, board wiping.
I would assume this would be board wipe and or, like, monsters. So, for example, how Raigeki and or Dark Hole is able to obliterate a field. Think like something like, Compulse, right? Compulsory evacuation device, returning one target to the hand. Bottomless trap hole, destroying an target, right? That would be fine. But if it's something that's going to, like, you know, there's a trap hole that I think destroys multiple monsters. I can't remember. It's been too long. But like Raigeki, Lightning Storm, potentially stuff like Twin Twisters as well for back row. Well, I mean, it's back row, not monsters. But you get my point, right? Anything that's multiple destruction on monsters is out.
Cards. That one's a bit vague. And of course, some of you might be saying, people did use those cards? No. Marek Ishtar used those cards. Yeah. And he cheated in all of his duels. In fact, he played a banned deck, and the only reason he got away with it is because he had the Winged Dragon of Ra. Kaiba wanted it, so he let him stay in the tournament. Yeah. Because if he got kicked out, he couldn't win it. Yeah. Simple as that, really. Oh, and also, Monster Reborn, powerful cards, that was limited to 1. In honesty,
I really love that Monster Reborn has really become a card that used to be ban-worthy, but now we have it at 1, instead of the powerhouse it used to be in regards to, I'm just going to bring back your boss monster, I'm just going to bring back this monster, right? It's effectively just a play extender at this point, where it's like, Monster Reborn, res this, chain, right? You just go on. It's a play. It is just very interesting to me how this card has evolved over the years.
I wish Konami would put out the official ban list of Battle City. That would be really cool. I'd love to see that. I was going to say you guys could try and make it in the comment section below, but it could be quite big, so don't worry about it. During a duel, players have 4,000 life points each. Both players would start the duel with 5 cards, with the turn player drawing 1 to start their turn. The hand limit is 6 cards. The turn player would be allowed a maximum of 5 minutes during each of his turns to contemplate his plays. Which explains why duelists were allowed to have mini monologues in the middle of every single duel. A duelist is allowed 1 normal summon per turn, and as many special summons as they want. Monsters summoned are allowed to be played in either face-up attack, face-up defense, or face-down defense. Monsters levels 1 to 4 are able to be normal summons straight to the field with no cost. Monsters levels 5 to 6 require 1 monster on the field to be tributed first in order to be normal summoned. Monsters levels 7 to 9 require 2 tributes for their summon, and monsters level 10 plus would require 3.
I think that's where the misconception comes from, because the God cards, Slifer Obelisk, do require 3. There's a lot of cards that require 3. From my understanding, it is 7 plus, so 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. If it is a 7 plus monster, it does only require 2 tributes. That is an anime-ism. However, obviously, there's a lot of examples where, like, the God cards require a specific, 3 tributes. You have the Sacred Beasts that require specific tributes. You have certain monsters, 7+ that require certain summoning conditions that they can only be summoned by that certain method, right? Things like, I think Darkness Neosphere is one of them. But you get what I mean, right? That is an anime-ism.
This is a really interesting mechanic, especially for Kaiba to introduce into the Yu-Gi-Oh card game. It's great that it's added. It adds a lot of strategy to the game. However, it means that his Blue Eyes deck is a lot weaker now, and it means that the Egyptian gods can't be spammed out. I think the reason that he did this is because it makes it more tactical. You really have to think harder now to get your big monsters onto the field. So yeah, the reason he did this was because it required more strategy, and Kaiba was confident with his strategy, so that's why he did it. If a player has no monsters on their side of the field, they can be attacked directly. If a monster is tributed whilst being attacked, then the attack is negated. This maneuver has a name in the Japanese anime, and it's called the Sacrifice Escape. The reason why this works...
That is, in modernity, say, for example, if I were to sack... So my opponent goes to attack, declaration of attack, battle phase, declaration of attack, going into attack. If I were to sacrifice the monster, because the board state changed, there would be a replay of battle. I wouldn't be able to, quote-unquote, dodge the attack.
Is because the replay mechanic is basically not a thing in Battle City.
Yeah.
So this means if a player is attacked directly, but they are able to summon a new monster to the field, instead of the person attacking being able to choose whether to stop the attack or continue, the monster is forced to attack the summoned monster. Or, for example, if a monster is targeted for an attack, but it leaves the field, then that attack ends. There is no replay. A monster that becomes an equip card is treated as both a monster and an equip card. The contents of a player's graveyard is not public knowledge. Also, if a card would make a duelist send a...
There is a very specific interaction as well. What is it? Is it the quiz card, where what is the bottom card of your opponent's deck? Every time outside of that, so for example, if we're just playing a game, right, and I'm like, okay, do I want to play my branded fusion? Okay, instant fusion, Millennium Eyes Restrict, right? Say my opponent's already went first, right? For some reason, say I went second, right? I can check. Oh, hey, what do you got in your grave? Oh, I see there's a Sky Striker Engage in your grave. Okay, right? But if they activate I think it's Question is the card, right? If you activate Question, I can't just go through the card because the interaction has already happened. I have to guess it. That is no longer public knowledge in that instance, if that makes sense, because the effect is currently in action. It is going to be resolving.
Card to the grave from either their hand or deck, then you do not have to show that card to your opponent. You see a lot of this in the anime, those sneaky plays where they just send the card real subtle like. It's fine though, it's legal. On top of this as well, a card sent to the graveyard is sent to the controller's graveyard instead, and not to the original owner. If a player summons token monsters, they do not take up any of the 5 monster zones. Also, if a token is summoned during the declaration of an attack, then
Can you imagine how cracked like Sky Striker would be for that if that was a thing? Can you just imagine?
Token becomes the attack target instead. You want to count yourself lucky that Link monsters aren't a thing yet. Whew. Card effects can be activated at the very beginning of a player's turn, basically before the draw phase. You can't activate 2 of the same spell cards during the same turn. Now, doing my research for this video, it said that you can't use 2 of the same cards to boost a monster's attack within the same turn. And that's true. However, I also think you can't use 2 of the same cards per turn. Now, I haven't watched through the whole series again, but I have 2 situations where this is evident. In the duel between Joey and Seeker, he opened with 3 Graceful Charities, but only activated each one once per turn. He did this again against his duel with Yugioh. Not only him though, Marek Ishtar did the same. While he was controlling Joey, he had 3 Hitomnas in hand. However, he only played them one at a time.
Yeah, I mean, it could be an activation window. It could be how, like, there are cards in Modernity with restrictions. This card can only be activated once per turn, right? Where, yes, you can theoretically run those multiple copies, but it is a restricted to once per turn.
See, after he's activated one, we see into his hand, and he still has one. But yeah, if you can give me an example where the same spell card was played during the same turn, let me know. This next one's a bit of a weird one. Normal, equip, and continuous spell cards can be activated during your battle phase, just like a quick play spell card. Or if you set those spells first, they can be activated anytime during the opponent's turn.
Honestly, like, I think this is strictly just for game balancing at this point. Because the way we have it, it has to be a spell speed 2. And even so, say for example, you have Mystical Space Typhoon, a spell speed 2 spell card, right? And you were to put it face down, you just can't activate it the turn you set it there. So say I'm main 1, right? And I know my opponent has a face down. I set my Mystical Space Typhoon face down for my hand, go to battle phase, attempt to crash. My opponent activates, say, Call of the Haunted. I cannot change. And if I used Mystical Space Typhoon, I could, be able to just recall the Haunted because it's a continuous track card. It wouldn't actually get its effect then. It's Snow Knight Deneb interaction with that, right? But because I set it face down that turn, I cannot activate the spell speed 2 spell Mystical Space Typhoon that turn. So there's a reason that there's quick play versus spell speed 1. Balancing reasons, valid balancing reasons. This is nutty. This makes me wonder how nutty the game would be.
Again, just like a quick play spell card. This ruling is rather crazy, however there are examples of this. The best example being the duel between Marek and Yugioh. Yugioh activates his set Monster Reborn during Marek's battle phase. So yeah, pretty busted. Monster, spell, and trap card effects do not linger. What does that mean? You're gonna love this. If a card is removed from the field, then that card's effect is negated. A hilarious example would be if I activate Mystical Space Typhoon and it destroys a spell or trap card, it would negate the effect of that card. So that...
Hey chat, did you know that there's a case where MST can technically negate? So there, field. So any card that can remain on the field, right? Like I think it was the 10 key interaction, Fire Formation 10 key. It was a continuous spell card. Technically, if the card is destroyed because it's a continuous spell card, there is a very specific thing where you scratch your head and go, "Yeah, technically MST negates." Yeah, you're welcome.
Means during Battle City, MST negates.
MST does not negate. If I were to shotgun a branded fusion or an instant fusion, you were to try to MST it, cool. You destroy it. However, my effect still goes through. You did not negate the effect. However, if I were to say activate Fire Formation 10 key to search a Beast Warrior monster, right? And you were to MST my Fire Formation 10 key, I would not get the effect off of Fire Formation 10 key because it was a continuous spell card, is no longer on the field. Technically, MST negates in certain scenarios.
Field spell cards are set in the spell and trap zone. However, when activated, they are moved to the field zone.
That's wild, actually. When the spell and trap zone is sus, is what I'm hearing.
Also, just like how we mentioned, normal, equip, and continuous cards can be activated during the opponent's turn if they are set the turn before. This also applies to field spell cards. An example of this was Mako Tsunami against Joey Wheeler. Fusion summoned monsters must wait one turn before they are able to attack.
So they effectively, and I feel like this was an anime-ism to curb the absolute just bonkers power level that fusion monsters were going to be, right? Because inherently, just summoning something from your extra deck is inherently better than having to fish. Like, so for example, fusing a Blue Eyes Ultimate is inherently just more efficient and convenient than having to dig for a Blackluster Soldier, or Black Illusion Ritual, and have the sacrifices on field all in the main deck. Because something is relegated to an extra deck slot, which technically in the anime it's not, right? Because it's relegated to an extra deck slot, it is seen at, mechanically it's just seen in a different light, and there is a certain amount of efficiency to it.
However, a Battle City exclusive spell card was created called Quick Attack, which would let you circumvent this detriment and attack during the same turn. Not only that, but fusion monsters that are tributed count for as many monsters that were used for its fusion summon. Blue Eyes Ultimate Dragon is treated as 3 tributes if its tribute summoned. Buster Blader, 2 tributes. I don't love this one, but it did happen. Opponents can also receive the effects of some cards that have very specific type summoning effects. For example, Dark Magic Curtain, Arcana summoned his Dark Magician, and then Yugioh summoned his Dark Magician Girl. Also, the Flute of Summoning Dragon. Both players summon dragon-type monsters, because I guess, why not? Why not? However, with that, Those are the rules of the Battle City.
That would, I mean, that I feel is to give a competitive edge to the opponent. If it's kind of like the side deck theorem, right? Where, say for example, if my opponent is playing, God, how do I even go about explaining this one? So if my opponent is playing a Beast Warrior deck, right, and I'm playing a Aqua deck, right? Say I'm playing like Mermail or something, right? Not so that's Aqua. I'm playing Mermail, right? And I were to side in something that if, for example, in the Battle City rulings, if they were to activate 10 key where they get the free search, I could theoretically side in a Beast Warrior to get a free search to just have more things to my hand, right? But yeah, no, that is, it could be that, and it also adds stakes to the anime, so that's more of an anime-ism rule.
Tournaments. If you think I missed anything, please let me know in the comment section below, and I'll give it a pin, or I'll just write them all out and add them all at the bottom. If you think I've got anything wrong in this video, let me know as well, because I did my best. Tried to find as many rules as I could, but yeah, I hope you enjoyed the video. But other than that, thank you for watching. Catch you later. Bye, everyone.
No, that was a really good video. I liked it. It did a lot more than the anime did. Let's put it that way. No, TGS Anime, I think, is on point with this one. As far as I'm aware, he covered everything. I mean, yeah, I don't think there was an interaction that, you know, outside of, like, God card shenaniganry because they have 15 effects like Giant Ballpark. Oh, I hate that field spell with a passion. Outside of Giant Ballpark that also has 15 effects. That's the inside joke here. You know, the DZ, which we'll go over at some point, has entire videos dedicated to the God cards and how they warp the game. But no, this is an excellent video. I think that all of this was explained beautifully. Excellent. Loved it. Thank you, TGS Anime.